Assalamu alaikum everyone. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is the second secondary grade. Our lesson today is speaking, listening, and also some kind of writing. This is taken from your book, The Traveler 4. So as usual, we're going to start with our objectives. Mainly, most of the time we have 3 objectives. So in this lesson, you can, 1, listen for specific information and answer multiple choice questions. 2, speak to generate a discussion based on your experience. And 3, write an article referring to a topic from a personal point of view. So we're going to discuss. We're not going to be able to listen actually, but I will read this for you. That's for number 1. I'm going to read for you for some specific information and ask you to answer some multiple choice questions, A, B, C, D. And then we're going to have some discussion based on your experience about job, about driving, and about different topics. And 3, we'll try to write an article. We'll talk about personal point of view. So what is your personal point of view regarding to some points of view? So it's about writing, and I'm going to ask you to write some article or paragraph. Hello, Hiba, type 1 if you can hear me, please. So if we warm up, if you look at this in unit, in the second unit after jobs, which is about, technology, you can see in this picture, you can see an iPad, a joystick, a laptop, a tablet, a iPod, MP3 player, headphones, and so many other things. So we're, of course, a mobile phone. We're in a digital revolution age where you can, every couple of weeks, you have a new mobile phone, a new tablet, a new laptop, a new joystick, a new gaming station, and some other minor little inventions that we see every day. So if we listen, or just think that we're going to pretend that we're listening, so I will read for you about people talking in 6 different situations. We're going to choose the best answer. So most of the time, if you have a listening activity in your classroom, you'll be asked to listen and choose A, B, or C. Most of the time, maybe your teacher will play for you a second time. So before you start listening, I'm going to tell you some tips to help you listen. Most of the time, if you listen to a conversation, try to read first. So first of all, try to read and decide on, or initially decide on one answer. And then if your teacher is going to play for you a second time, take your time to choose the answer and focus on the answers, because on the first time you listen to the conversation, you should have had some very good, point of view or idea about the question. So I will read for you number 1. You'll hear a man talking about a gadget that he got. What did the man originally want it for? So there is a man talking about some gadget or some invention or some apparatus. Now, what did he wanted the thing for? I think number 1 is, if we had listened, is B. You wanted to take photos. So if you want to take photos, most of the time we take photos by using either a camera or a mobile phone, because we take pictures on cameras and mobile phones. The second one, number 2, you will hear, or you should have heard, an uncle and his nephew talking about shopping on the internet. What advice does the uncle give to his nephew? Which is going to be A, to shop from safe websites, to be careful with his credit card details, or to go out shopping. The best answer for this is, according to the conversation, is that you need to pay attention to shop from safe websites. Some safe websites will ask you to, put your credit card, or there'll be some, fraud trying to steal your money. So you pay the money and you never get anything. Number 3, you should have heard two people talking about dishwasher. Why did the man buy it? So did he buy it because he has a big family, or because he's too busy to wash the dishes, or because he wants to have a tidy kitchen? According to the conversation, it's C, because he wants to have a tidy kitchen. So this is why he bought a dishwasher. And number 4, you should have heard a man on a phone. What is the man complaining about the product he bought? So he bought something. What was his complaint? Was it A, it did not scratch all of his back, it was defective, or it injured him, or it caused him some harm? And according to the conversation, it's C, it caused him some harm. 5, you should have heard a man talking about Eurostar train. What does he say about it? Did he talk when he, according to the conversation too, is it A, that the trip is tiring and time consuming, or B, going through a channel tunnel frightened him, or C, the speed of the train impressed him? So the man talked about the Eurostar train. So what does he say about it? 5 is also C, the speed of the train was nice, he liked it, it impressed him. And finally, number 6, according to the conversation, you should have heard a man interviewing Michael Merriweather on a radio program. What is Michael's intention? So what did he think about? Was it A, to give technical information about the gadget, B, to convince the listeners to buy the gadget, or C, to compare his gadget with the other machines? According to the conversation, the best answer is B. So he talked on a radio program and he tried to convince those who listened to him to buy the gadget. So these were the answers. If you want to check them, sorry you could not have heard, you did not hear the conversation. So I tried to read it for you, that's the best thing I could do. Now let's move on from listening to talk about. Hiba, what do you see in this picture? In picture A and picture B. What do you see in picture A and picture B? He looks like a doctor, that's right, very good. And in picture B, who are those boys? If you take a look at picture B, who are those boys? Okay, they're chemistry boys studying some kind of chemistry. Good, thank you. So I'll try to talk to you about it. So you compare the photographs and say what you think the people will learn from the activity they're doing. So you can use some of the words and expressions given below. So this man in A, he looks like a scientist, and those are maybe his students. And as Hiba said, they are working in a chemistry lab, so they are trying some experiment. So for science labs and about chemistry or biology, there are some good words you need to focus on today, which are a microscope. You know what is a microscope? This is the picture of a microscope. Test tubes, and these are the test tubes, as you can see, used by the students here. These are the test tubes. And a breakthrough, it means invention or something new, or they found out some, scientific thing, which we call a breakthrough. Experiment, so when you put some chemicals together, so you do some experiment. Okay, for example, if you put crystals of potassium permanganate with water, the water becomes dark purple, and they dissolute, and we consider potassium permanganate solution as a purifier of water. This is a chemical experiment. Research is when you go to the lab and study and do a research, maybe online or in a lab. It doesn't make a big difference. And in a laboratory. Laboratory most of the time is reduced to lab. So I'm sure in your school you have a laboratory or a lab where you go for science, chemistry, and sometimes maybe for physics lessons. So we have 6 new words: microscope, test tubes, breakthrough, experiment, research, laboratory, and all of them are nouns. So we'll try to use these nouns in some sentences. Okay? So we can say, biologists use microscopes to study viruses and germs. Okay? Number 2, test tubes. Students better use test tubes in chemistry classes. Number 3, breakthrough. Everyone is waiting for a breakthrough, medication for cancer, or finding a cure for cancer is a breakthrough. It means a great invention. Experiment. Experiments are done in a lab, and people should be careful when they do experiments. Research. The teacher asked me to do a research about fiction stories or non-fiction stories. And number 6, laboratory. You must wear a white coat when you work in a laboratory. Or when you get into a laboratory, you should wear a white coat. Or there should be some safety, tools in a laboratory. So we had studied 6 nice words we use in science labs. So here are some suggested answers for you. I'm going to read for you. So person picture A is probably looking at the Petri disk using a microscope in a laboratory. He's probably a scientist or a biologist doing research who's perhaps working towards a scientific breakthrough in his field or on a cure for a fatal disease like cancer. And the people in picture B are probably students in a school laboratory. They're perhaps trying to conduct an experiment. They are using test tubes so that they can better understand a scientific process. These were just some suggested or sample answers for you. Now, if we talk about writing, and this is what most students don't like, which is writing, and actually, since you're all students, all teachers will like you to write. So the more you write, the more you produce some very good academic form, because writing, conduct grammar, vocabulary, and of course writing. And also it has something to do with your style and other things like, punctuation, and also use of the text. So writing is very important for you because you are students, and the more you write, the more you master writing. And this is a good advice. This is a good advice for you because once you finish high school, you need to go to a college, and if you go to college, most of your work is to either write notes or do research or write essays. So when we write an article, okay, so when writing an article referring to a topic from a personal point of view, follow the outline below. So sometimes your teacher will ask you to write about advantages and disadvantages of something, or will tell you to write about something controversial. It means your point of view. For example, if you write about women driving in Saudi Arabia, some people, like the idea of women driving in Saudi Arabia. Other people don't like women drive, in Saudi Arabia. Others, they don't care. They are in the middle. So what is your point of view, Hiba? Are you with or against, or you don't care if women drive in Saudi Arabia? With, okay, of course, okay, okay, good. So if you are with something or you have a point of view about something, you need to convince why you are with this point of view. And you should give examples and support your examples with logical sentences. So here is some kind of an outline to help you write. So you start with a title, number one. What are you going to write about? So think about an interesting title. I just gave you an example here from our society, which is some people talk too much about, oh, we don't want women driving in Saudi Arabia because we don't want troubles to them. Others say, no, we are with driving of women in Saudi Arabia because they can depend on themselves, and others really don't care. So think about an interesting title. What would you choose a title like this? You could choose too many, attractive titles. So you can have a nice title. So the one or people who would read your title will be very, attracted to the title. Then you start with an introduction. So you say some that's a paragraph. We call it introduction. So introduce the topic of the article in an original and interesting way in order to attract the reader's attention, and say in particular you are going to refer to and what your opinion about it. Then you have the main part, which is another paragraph. You can put 3 paragraphs. So in the main part or the body of your writing, develop your ideas about different aspects of the topic in separate paragraphs, and then expand it on, describe or give examples of each aspect to develop the idea in the paragraph. So you say why you are with this, and you give examples, and you support your examples with something convincing, so your readers will follow you and they will like your sentences. And finally, the final paragraph, we always call it the conclusion. So in the conclusion, you make a general statement to sum up your ideas. So you can say in 2-3 sentences everything in short, and you sum up your opinion, or you say you can summarize the whole idea of the paragraph at the conclusion of your writing, You have to write and learn. This is how we learn writing. You write, you make mistakes, and you learn from your mistakes. So here's an exercise about this. So I can imagine that you, maybe Hiba will go after this, and you can say you have seen this announcement in an international magazine, which is a gadget, or some of these, we call them gadgets, I can't live without. So there is one of these you cannot live without. So tell us about a gadget you consider or you like too much, so necessary that you cannot live without it. So say what why you say why you use it for and why it is important to you. Then the most interesting article will be published in the next month issue. So write the article between on a rough from 120 words to 180 words. First of all, you write, you gather your, you need to write, you need to read, then you put some topic sentences on a draft, and then you write on another draft, and then you put it on a final draft, and that's your writing will be very nice. And you need to reconsider the outline and the tips of writing we spoke about a while ago. So if I ask you the question, most of the people will say, I cannot live without my cell phone. I cannot live without my tablet. So you have to say why, and you have to give your own point of view. So this is the summary. So we talked about writing, and this is the outline of the writing and an article with your own point of view. You start with choose a title, write an introduction 2-3 paragraphs of the body or the main part of your writing, and finally try to use a conclusion. And we had very nice 6 vocabulary here: a microscope, test tubes, breakthrough, experiment, research, and a laboratory.